Paul makes $70,000 a year. His partner makes $58,000. Combined, $128,000. That's real money. Top 30% of American households. Solidly upper middle class. They should be comfortable. Building wealth. Maxing retirement accounts. Taking vacations without guilt. Sleeping well. They're not. They're stressed. Constantly. About money. They make $128,000 a year. And they feel broke. Not actually broke. Just tight. Always tight. One car repair away from panic. One medical bill away from the credit card. One surprise expense away from wondering how they'll make it work. This doesn't make sense. Two incomes should mean twice the security, twice the options, twice the breathing room. Instead, it feels like they're working twice as hard to stay in the same place. Something's wrong with the math. Or maybe the math is working exactly as designed, and Paul just didn't know the formula. Paul's parents had one income. His dad worked. His mom stayed home. $45,000 a year in today's dollars. They owned a house, 3 bedrooms, decent neighborhood, good schools. They had a car, took vacations, put money away. Weren't rich, but weren't stressed. Not about money anyway. One income, $45,000, and it worked. Paul and his partner have 2 incomes, $128,000 combined. Nearly 3 times what Paul's parents made. They should have 3 times the comfort, 3 times the security, 3 times the options. They don't. They have the same house size, similar neighborhood, same schools, but it costs them both incomes, not one. Both. Fully committed, no backup, no margin, no flexibility. The promise was simple. 2 incomes mean more security, more options, more stability. If one person loses their job, the other can carry things. If something goes wrong, you have a buffer. If you want to take a risk, you can, because you're not dependent on one paycheck. That was the promise. That's not what happened. Paul's partner makes $58,000. Gross. That's the number on the offer letter, the number they celebrate, the number that feels like progress. But that's not what hits the bank account. Taxes come first: federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, Medicare. Because of how tax brackets work, that second income gets hit harder. It stacks on top of Paul's $70,000, gets taxed at the higher marginal rates. Effective tax rate on the second income, 32%. $58,000 becomes $39,440 before they've spent a dollar. Then there's childcare. They have 2 kids. Someone needs to watch them while Paul and his partner work. Daycare, $1,400 a month per child, $2,800 total, $33,600 a year. The second income is now $5,840 for a full year of work. But we're not done. 2 working parents mean 2 commutes. Paul's partner drives 45 minutes each way. Gas, $200 a month. Car maintenance, $100 a month. Parking, $150 a month. Insurance increase for commuting, $50 a month. That's $500 a month. $6,000 a year. The second income is now negative $160. Paul's partner works full-time, leaves the house at 7 a.m., gets home at 6:30 p.m., exhausted, for negative $160 a year. But wait, there's more. 2 exhausted working parents don't cook as much, don't have time to clean as much, don't have energy to maintain things. They order dinner twice a week, $80 a week, $4,160 a year. They hire a cleaner twice a month, $150 a month, $1,800 a year. They pay for lawn service, $100 a month, $1,200 a year. They buy convenience everything. Pre-cut vegetables, pre-made meals, delivery instead of pickup, premium instead of effort, another $3,000 a year. Total exhaustion expenses, $10,160. The second income is now negative $10,320. Paul's partner is working full-time to cost the household $10,320 a year. This is the trap. Paul knows the math doesn't work. Sort of. He hasn't calculated it exactly, but he feels it. Feels like they're working all the time and never getting ahead. But they can't stop because they need both incomes. Not for wealth building, for baseline survival. The house payment is $2,800 a month. They qualified for that mortgage based on $128,000, not $70,000. The bank looked at their combined income, said they could afford it, and they could, as long as both incomes keep flowing, forever, without interruption, without illness, without layoffs, without burnout, without any of the things that happen to humans. The car payments total $720 a month, 2 cars, because 2 working parents need 2 cars. They're not luxury cars, just reliable, necessary, but financed based on 2 incomes. The monthly nut, mortgage, cars, insurance, utilities, food, is $5,200. Paul's take-home is $4,300. They need the second income, not for extras, for rent, for car payments, for existing. They've built a life that requires both incomes, which means neither can stop, neither can step back, neither can take a risk, neither can handle a crisis. They're locked in, not by choice, by structure. This is the 2-income trap. Not that you have 2 incomes, but that you need both, permanently, with no flexibility, no backup plan, no margin. Paul's dad made $45,000 in today's dollars. 1 income, supported a family of 4, owned a house, had savings, took vacations. How? Not because $45,000 went further, though it did, but because they structured differently. Their mortgage was $850 a month, based on 1 income, not 2. If Paul's dad lost his job, his mom could work. That was the backup plan, the emergency reserve, the flexibility. They had margin. Paul and his partner make $128,000, nearly 3 times as much. Their mortgage is $2,800, more than 3 times higher. But here's the key difference. Paul's parents could have survived on 0 income for a while. They had savings. They had a stay-at-home parent who could enter the workforce. They had options. Paul and his partner can't survive the loss of either income. Even for a month, their savings are 2 months of expenses. Maybe, if nothing else goes wrong. If either of them loses their job, they can't make the mortgage, can't make the car payments, can't cover childcare for the one who's still working. The whole structure collapses. They make 3 times what Paul's parents made and have 1/3 the security because they activated the backup plan as the default. Both incomes working all the time. No reserve left. This is what happened to the American middle class, not declining wages. Wages went up, but expenses went up faster, and the structure shifted from 1-income stability to 2-income fragility. In 1970, families competed for houses based on 1 income. That's what you could borrow. That's what you could afford. That set the ceiling. Then 2-income households became normal. Suddenly, families had twice the borrowing power. For the same houses, what happens when everyone can pay more? Prices go up, way up. The $850 mortgage became $1,200, then $1,600, then $2,000, then $2,800. Not because houses got better, because buyers could pay more. The market adjusted to 2 incomes. And once the market adjusts, you need 2 incomes. Just to keep up. Just to afford what 1 income used to buy. This happened with everything. Housing, education, healthcare, childcare, all the fixed costs of middle-class life. They expanded to consume both incomes, not because families got greedy, because the market absorbed the new normal. Paul's parents bought their house for $120,000 in today's dollars, on 1 income. The same house, literally the same house Paul's parents still live there, is worth $380,000 now. Because that's what 2-income families can borrow. That's what the market will bear. Paul and his partner aren't paying for a better house. They're paying for the fact that everyone else has 2 incomes too. It's an arms race, where everyone escalated and nobody won, except the banks and the real estate market. Everyone else just works harder for the same result. Paul's partner gets sick. Nothing catastrophic, just ongoing. Chronic fatigue, stress-related. The doctor says rest, reduce hours, maybe take some time off. Paul and his partner look at the budget. If she stops working, they lose $58,000 gross. More importantly, they lose $4,300 take home. After taxes, they need $5,200 a month for fixed costs. Paul's take home is $4,300. They're $900 short. Every month. Without her income, they can't make it. Not even close. So she keeps working, exhausted, sick, burning out, because they have no choice. The structure requires both incomes, and the structure can't be changed quickly. They can't sell the house without losing money on closing costs. Can't break the car leases without penalties. Can't pull the kids out of daycare without losing their spots. Everything is locked in, based on two incomes. This is what fragility looks like. Not poverty, not recklessness. Just a system with no margin for error, where everything has to go right, forever. And when it doesn't, there's no cushion, no backup, no plan B. Because plan B was the second income, and they're already using it. Paul and his partner should have built differently, not based on two incomes, based on one, with the second income treated as temporary, optional, not guaranteed. Here's what that looks like. Take Paul's $70,000 income. After taxes, $4,300 a month. Build fixed costs that fit within that. Mortgage, $1,800 maximum, not $2,800, $1,800. That means a cheaper house, smaller, further out, less impressive, but sustainable on one income. One car payment, $350, not two at $720. One reliable car, paid off as fast as possible. The second car is used, owned outright, basic, functional, not financed, total fixed costs, $3,200. Mortgage, car, insurance, utilities, minimum food. That leaves $1,100 a month from Paul's income. For everything else, tight but doable. Now add the second income, $58,000 gross, $39,440 after taxes, $3,287 a month. But this income isn't committed. It's not built into the structure. It's bonus, all of it. First, it eliminates childcare costs because the structure can survive without this income. If necessary, one parent could stay home. They don't. Both want to work, but they could. That's the difference. Second, it funds everything else. Retirement, $1,500 a month. Emergency fund, $500 a month. Extra debt payoff, $300 a month. Actual discretionary spending, $987 a month. The second income isn't keeping them afloat. It's building wealth, creating options, funding the future. If it disappears tomorrow, life gets tighter. But they don't lose the house, don't default on debt, don't spiral. They adjust, cut back, survive. That's the difference between fragility and stability, between trapped and flexible, between two incomes you need and two incomes you have. Paul's approach sounds reasonable. In theory, in practice, it's hard, really hard, because everyone else is spending both incomes on bigger houses, nicer cars, better neighborhoods, better schools. When Paul looks at houses he can afford on one income, they're smaller, older, further from work, in districts with okay schools. Not great schools, okay. His friends are buying bigger houses in better areas, with both incomes. They seem fine, happy, successful. Paul seems cautious, cheap, overly worried. His family asked why they don't upgrade. You both have good jobs. You can afford more. You should enjoy your success. The pressure is constant, subtle, relentless. And it's hard to explain the strategy. Hard to say, we're building for one income even though we have two. People don't get it. They see the two incomes, wonder why Paul isn't using them, assume he's being unnecessarily restrictive, missing out on life, being too conservative. But Paul knows something they don't, or haven't admitted yet, that their bigger houses and nicer cars come with invisible handcuffs, that they're not more successful, just more committed, more locked in, more fragile. Paul's smaller house comes with freedom, options, margin, the ability to survive a crisis, to take a risk, to choose. That's worth more than granite countertops. But it doesn't photograph well, doesn't impress the neighbors, doesn't feel like winning. At least not yet. Paul didn't build for one income. He built for two, like everyone else, because the social pressure was too much, because the houses he could afford on one income felt like settling, because he wanted his kids in the best schools, because he thought two incomes meant security. He was wrong. Now Paul is trapped. Both incomes committed. No flexibility, no backup plan. One crisis away from collapse. He makes $128,000 a year and feels broke. Not because he's irresponsible, because the trap is structural, built into the system, designed to consume both incomes and leave nothing behind. Paul's parents had less income, more security, because they structured differently, kept a backup plan, had margin. Paul has more income, less security, because he spent the backup plan on baseline existence. This is the two-income trap, and Paul is standing in the middle of it, wondering how he got here and how to get out. Two incomes aren't the problem. Two committed incomes are. When both paychecks are required for survival, when there's no margin left, when the backup plan is already deployed, that's when two incomes feel like one, or less than one, because you're working twice as hard for the same result your parents got with half the effort. The trap isn't about earning. It's about structure, about building a life that requires both incomes, instead of a life that benefits from them. Paul knows this now. Too late to easily fix, but not too late to change direction, to slowly restructure, to build margin back in, one decision at a time. It won't be fast, it won't be easy, but it's the only way out. Thanks for watching. We'll check back in on Paul next time. Another trap, another lesson. This is how money really works.